Hi, Writing 250. I wanted to send you a message really quickly to talk a little bit about the research prospectus that y'all are going to be dealing with now. I want to be really clear, this isn't your research project. You're not expected to put together a large-scale research project where you interview 400 people or anything like that. And I'm not expecting you to write, a 20-page research paper either. What I'm asking you to do is put together the prospectus. So think of this as the piece of writing that you would produce if you wanted to propose this idea to a committee of people interested in maybe funding something like what you're proposing. So some of the things that you think about might require some extra money, they might require some funding. That's fine. That's what this kind of prospectus is for. Along with the research prospectus, you should also be thinking about your last assignment of the semester, which is your multimodal project, because you're going to be taking your research prospectus, which you have written for a committee, for them to consider as far as like giving funding to you goes. Your multimodal presentation is going to be this paper, the research prospectus, turned in to a multimodal presentation. So you're going to take the paper that we're working on now that's due on November 17th and turn it into something like a PowerPoint or a Prezi that you would use if you were actually physically standing in front of this committee asking for money to complete your project. So there are a couple of things that I want to draw your attention to as you get ready to think about the research prospectus. First of all, it is an 8 to 12 page paper. You are expected to have an abstract that doesn't count towards that 8 to 12 pages, and you are expected to have a works cited page, but that doesn't count towards your prospectus either. That doesn't count towards your page count either. The first 2 pages or so should be your introduction with a brief literature review, right? Don't go copying and pasting stuff from this last assignment, but keep in mind that the general idea of what you produced for the literature review is going to be something that you kind of distill down into 2 pages for your research prospectus. Then your primary research project, you should discuss in about 2 to 4 pages. That's where you might, if you've decided that this big research project you want to do is like a massive survey of 500 people, you might decide to interview or survey 5 people and talk about the findings that you found there. So it'll be 2 to 4 pages on what kinds of survey questions you chose, what kind of approach you took, what kind of answers you got, things like that. Now keep in mind that a large-scale research project is going to yield probably different results than just 5 random people will. That's why we have big samples. That is in your proposed research methods, the next section that comes after the small-scale project discussion, and that's going to take 3 to 4 pages for you to talk about why you want to interview this large group of people, why you think it's necessary, how it applies to the thesis that you have, and then your conclusion will be about a page or about half a page to a page worth of concluding information. While you're thinking about this research prospectus, your thesis of the research prospectus should be a gap that you've found in your research. You've just completed the literature review. That's where you've done all of this research and look at what's being said about your topic. Your thesis for your research prospectus is probably going to be that place where you found the gap. What do you want to contribute to the literary conversation? How do you want your voice to show up in this published conversation that you've been studying? And then, while you're thinking about this, think about how you might turn this into a multimodal presentation, how you might turn this into a PowerPoint that you would give in front of a committee while you're seeking funding. There are some documents that I think are going to be really helpful for you that are available in Blackboard. One is the blueprint for your research prospectus. The other is the assignment sheet that has the process, that little process section towards the bottom. That lays out about how long each section should be and a general discussion of what each section should include. And then your blueprint is going to go into a lot more detail. We do have optional meetings coming up this Saturday and Sunday. So, you've got a link to the Google Doc in your Blackboard unit. Go there. If you feel confused about this assignment, you want to discuss the assignment a little bit further, you want to make sure you're on the right track, anything like that, those meetings are available to you. We need to fill up all of the available slots before we add more, but if we need to add more, we certainly can. Okay. Now, I've talked a lot about that small-scale research project where you might interview 4 or 5 people, you might survey 4 or 5 people. This is going to be an assignment-specific element, a topic-specific element for your assignment. If you are doing something on, for example, I have a student doing something on acid rain, surveying might not be useful for that student. There are a lot of different ways that you can conduct that small-scale research project that you're later going to turn into a big research project. So make sure that you're doing the textbook reading for this class that's assigned in the syllabus. That's going to lay out how you do primary research, the value of primary research, how to conduct and form primary research projects, and things like that. So make sure you're keeping up with the reading. And if you have any questions about how that primary research needs to get worked into your essay, please contact me or sign up for one of those individual meetings for this weekend. Okay. One other thing to keep in mind, when you're doing primary research, don't interview or survey minors, anybody under 18. You need to get special internal review board approval for that, IRB approval for something like that. And you also want to keep in mind that you're dealing with a smaller group. Don't try and interview like 20 people. Keep this small and manageable. 4 to 5 people is more than acceptable. If you're doing another kind of research project, I'm happy to talk to you individually about what your idea is and how you're going to execute it. All right. So, in conclusion, research, prospectus, and multimodal, you need to be thinking about those at the same time. Make sure that you are planning some kind of primary research that you can do on a small scale. And then the point of the research prospectus is to propose that you take that small scale primary research and blow it up into something big and much more comprehensive. All right. Then we have our optional meetings on Saturday and Sunday that I think will be really useful to you guys as you move forward. All right. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to email me. Otherwise, I'm sure that I'll talk to a couple of you guys on Saturday and Sunday. All right. Talk to you soon.